After a very long 4-month forced hiatus, the Global GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, begins its restart, and it does it at one of the most glorious racing facilities in the world, Virginia International Raceway, for the GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. And that's our first stream for GT3-related anything in 4 months, Cal. And we started off with qualifying on an incredible racetrack, and one where these cars can really let things loose.
Yeah, absolutely. As you come through this little area called the Snake, you then head up through the high-speed S's. Just an unbelievable piece of real estate in North American motorsport. And you see that green grass. There was a nice little storm roll through here last night, and that grass is going to be really lush and really slick if you do go for an excursion here today, so the drivers have to be on their toes. 2 15-minute sessions here, split between the lower-graded driver in your lineup, and then the pros will take for the second round, and that'll determine the grid positions for the 2 races here this weekend.
And the field down in numbers from what we were certainly hoping, but when you think about all of the travel restrictions that are in place, as well as protocols for COVID and the like, whether it's international travel or just within the U.S., we've got cars here. They have made an extraordinary effort to come out. SRO, working with Virginia International Raceway, have done an amazing job of putting in place protocols to ensure that we can come here, race as safely as possible, with safety being off the track as much as we effort all the time for it to be safe on the track. And I think they've done an incredible job, and we've got some great teams that have shown up and made the call here, and it is so sweet to be at a racetrack and hear the sound of live race cars flying by. Good look there at the 04 CrowdStrike entry from DXDT. It's been very quick in the test and practice sessions, and this was a race last year where they got a breakthrough podium, and they're looking to climb it with a new version of the Mercedes GT3 car. It's been a while since COTA, and we might want to remind people that a lot of these cars have gone through evolutionary steps.
Yeah, this one has the Evo kit that they got quite late. They didn't have a lot of time with this machine prior to the opening rounds at COTA, which is now some 4 months ago. But they've done a lot of testing since that time. They've been here to VIR for a couple of days, and they really feel they've got a good handle on this race car this weekend. That's George Kurtz behind the wheel. He'll share the car with Colin Brown, whose dad, Jeff, very renowned engineer, is on their pit stand this weekend trying to just fine-tune that race car and find the last few hundredths of a second, but they've been very much at the top of the timesheets this weekend.
George, of course, a former GTS AM class champion, and has really come along. Both he and Colin have talked about that the new Evo package on this car really suits their driving styles a little bit more. They're able to hustle the car a bit better. They have a bit more confidence in it. For George, that's everything, but for Colin to say that, who's an exceptional talent, to say, yeah, we're going to be even better in this, that's encouraging for the team and maybe a little frightening for everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. If Colin Brown gets up on the wheel on one of these GT3 cars, he can really make it fly. So if he gets the car comfortable, he's been dynamite in prototype machines over the years. He has a NASCAR history as well, so he can pretty much drive anything. But I think if he and his dad kind of get this car totally dialed in, they could be a real factor for wins this year.
There's lots of opportunity for that, obviously, and it's a 2-car program with DXDT. You've also got Mr. Askew along with Dial in the 63 car, the Isulco entry, and so with that new development package, in fact, I think that's the one right behind them.
It is.
And so these two, now they've got a 2-car program with the newest Evos packages on the car, and as you said, giving them a lot of time. They've been able to do some testing, and that's huge when you, as you said, get this package relatively late before the season starts.
Yeah, and you can see there that Kurtz just elected to back off a little bit here, a little spin there, some tires are turning around, and that's the Ferrari, I believe, of Martin Fuentes in the 2 DXDT. Oh, they just touch. I don't think there's going to be a lot of damage there. That was maybe just that front splitter just going to the right rear of George Kurtz there. So Fuentes went for a little bit of a spin there as they came out of the S's.
And that's that wet grass you were talking about. You can hear it.
Yeah, and watch this. To take avoiding action, you're just along for the ride. It's like being on ice right now with the rain that we had here at about 7, 8 o'clock last night.
And then you got a hot race tire trying to get grip.
Take a look at that front splitter there. I don't see any damage. It just looked like it just dinked it right as they were coming to a stop.
This is a, well, let's take a look at, there's another angle on it here.
You're just going to go with the camber of the grass there.
Yeah.
You just roll down the slope, literally. Yeah, so Fuentes had gotten out of the pits a little bit later than the other guys, and was starting to get up to speed. Just overcooked it a little bit. And those two guys were too close and kind of loaded over to the left side of the road, had nowhere to go, nothing they could do about it.
Meanwhile, it is the team car to the one we're watching right now, the number 80, Martin Barkey, doing the job for Racer's Edge in the number 80 MBRP Performance Exhaust Machine. Just turned to 149.115, fastest lap thus far. This is Shelby Blackstock. They are running in the silver category. He's teamed with Trent Hinman. Decent weekend for them at COTA.
They're going to be tough to beat because when you have Shelby, who's going to be qualifying in Group 1, he is exceptionally quick. He's probably the quickest of the kind of AM drivers, even though he's well on his way with a professional career. So this silver thing is really kind of a tweak in the rules that they saw. You know what, if we can get the right driver pairing, and when you look at Trent Hinman, who he won both races with at COTA, I mean, he's almost like a super pro.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's just the fine line between the gradings on the drivers, and certainly hats off to Racer's Edge for coming up with this driver lineup. They're going to be awfully tough to beat for the championship.
That said, it's the number 20 now, one of the AM cars in the hands of Fred Pordad, and this is early in the session, obviously, but a 149 flat for Fred. He's had a lot of success at this track, loves this place, doing GT3 Cup racing and the like, and stepping up with Wright Motorsports team with the very fast young up-and-comer Max Ruud. They, too, had a really good weekend at Circuit of the Americas, so it's Pordad in the AM class atop everything right now, then Barkey in the Pro-Am sitting second, Blackstock in the silver class sitting third. David Askew is fourth overall, second in Pro-Am in that black DXDT Usulco Mercedes. And the number 33 of Chris Wilson, and that's a new pairing here this weekend. Chris is working with the Windward Racing team. Russell Ward, the young Russell Ward is his teammate here, and Chris filling in the other general driver in the team. Russell's dad couldn't make it this weekend, and Chris is a pretty darn good fill-in.
Yeah, had a nice win yesterday with John Allen in Sprint X competition in GT4. So whenever you plug Chris Wilson in, he is plug and play. He can take the car to the front, and he should be a great partner for Russell here this weekend. So Shelby just getting up to speed. You could tell by the throttle application through the roller coaster. Grip is not quite there yet in those Pirelli P0s, but it'll just gradually get into its sweet spot as he gets a few more laps underneath him.
They went to the top of the charts at a 146.513, so we're starting to get there right now.
Fast times yesterday were in the 144, 145 bracket.
And the Pro-Am pole in the first race last year when the AM driver level would do the qualifying is a 145.6, just as a reference point. And they're already within a second of that, and really I think there's more yet to be found. Fuentes, after that spin, puts down a good one, Cal, and takes that number 1 Ferrari from TR3 Racing up into second overall in Pro-Am provisional pole.
You expected him to be a factor here this weekend.
Yeah.
Currently leads the Pro-Am category. He and Rodrigo Baptista, who's going to have a busy year running with Bentley and the K-Pax team over in Europe in the Endurance Championship. But Fred Pordad's done a really nice job here, and he's teamed up, as you said, with that sensational youngster, Max Ruud, who's really on his way to big things in this world of motorsports. But what a rider is up through these high-speed S's here. It's a beautiful section of the racetrack, and when you've had a long break, there's nothing like being here bright and early in the morning. Track conditions probably at the best they're going to be all day as the temperatures start to climb. It's got to be a great sensation to feel. Fresh Pirelli P0s, relatively cool air for the day anyway.
Exactly.
And that piece of racetrack.
Chris Wilson jumps to third for Windward in the number 33. That is the Mercedes AMG. And then Pordad now sits still on the provisional AM pole, but has been demoted to fourth at this stage. And we're going to see a lot of cycling here for the next couple of laps. Also want to make mention we've got a second TR3 racing entry, and that is former GT champ Bill Sweedler, along with John McGrew, who is making his debut with this series, I believe, coming up out of the Ferrari Challenge ranks and as a former class champion in that category. So it's nice to see some of these guys come in. Oh, a bit of an off here for the number 31. Speaking of Mr. McGrew.
And again, you can just see the ride that you take because it is wet out there. The key is not getting stuck now. And of causing a delay in this session. So great to see Bill Sweedler back. He's won some of the biggest GT races in the world. He's won the Rolex 24 back in 2014, won GTEM at Le Mans in 2016, as well as a GTD championship. So used to team regularly with Townsend Bell, and they were a formidable partnership in the genuine Pro-Am days.
There's a look at Martin. Looks like Martin Barkey right behind him.
I may have made a mistake. I'm not sure if it was Fuentes who spun. I think it may have been McGrew.
That could be too.
It was the other black Ferrari.
The Hublot Ferrari now. Yeah. Nice job there by Martin letting him go, but it's got that red stripe.
That's right.
And the McGrew car is all black, so I think you're right.
Fuentes looks like he's just looking for some clean air here. Time is running out, only 3.5 minutes on the board.
Well, we've got a third member of our team is fired up down in pit lane. He's fired up to be here, period. Ryan Marine.
Yeah, that's very true, Greg. I am indeed. Thank you so much. I did want to follow up on the DXDT story because you mentioned the spins, the off-track excursions for the cars. They both came into the pits. Both had significant grass on the front of the cars that had to be cleared off of the radiator inlets. And in the case of the David Askew Ryan Dial car, there was actually some significant front-end damage to the car, which they did not repair at the time. They sent him back out. And actually what the team is trying to ascertain now, and maybe you guys have the answer to this, is if they come in and make repairs here during this qualifying session, do they lose any times that are set, and does that affect them for the second qualifying that's coming up here in a little while? There is some significant damage to the front, and the team has determined that it would be detrimental from an aerodynamic perspective, so they would like to make the repairs if they can, but not if it's going to impact both qualifying sessions.
It's a really good question with the legality of the session following, Ryan. I'm pretty sure you're going to lose any times that you're set to that point in this session if you do a repair, but I do not believe it should affect the next session for Ryan Dial and Colin Brown.
And the rule says you can't refuel, but it doesn't say you can't do any work on the car in between sessions.
Right, so you have to change tires and things like that, so there's obviously some servicing going on in between that little break between these two 15-minute qualifying sessions, which you can see is running out rapidly here. Look at Chris Wilson.
Well, Blackstock's 146.2 tops the order overall, and he's on the silver provisional pole. Fuentes turned to 146.7 or 146.6. That's good for the Pro-Am provisional pole, second overall. But Wilson's only a couple of tenths behind him. Just a few hundredths behind Wilson is Barkey. And so there's still opportunity here. Wilson looks like he's on a lap. We'll see what he's able to do here as we're coming up on that final minute. Of course, if you get under the start-finish stand before the clock runs out, the lap you're on is good to continue. Wilson's going to get this one and one more here. See what he does. He had a 146.8 as his best one. And he just missed it. It was a little higher, 146.8. So he's got this lap, one more lap to try and do something here. Poordad jumps up, sorry Cal, but a nice lap by Poordad puts him right back up into fourth overall provisional pole in AM.
Yeah, that's really nice laps for Freddie. He has nowhere near the experience of some of the others in the field here, so that's a really good lap for him. As George Kurtz, not the morning he was looking for, just that little bobble there, and the off-course excursion has really kind of got him out of his rhythm here. He's just got to regroup. He's got this lap and one more to see if he can lay down a time and move himself up the grid.
See what kind of time he puts up on this one here. Looks like it could be relatively good. He's currently back in sixth overall, fourth in Pro-Am. As he comes through, nope, just missed his previous best by a tenth, but as you said, he's got this lap, it's got to be clean. And we can't put enough of an emphasis on how important qualifying is in GT3 racing these days. And that's why everybody pushes so incredibly hard in these cars. Look at Fred using every piece of racetrack here.
Looks to really be in a good rhythm here.
Yes, it does.
Run by Wright Motorsports, so much success over the years and at this racetrack, so I'm sure they got that Porsche right where it needs to be.
Boom, what a lap. A 146.5, second overall, Cal.
That is awesome stuff.
Man.
And that really sets up nicely for Max Root, because Fred had an off in qualifying at COTA, so Max Root never got to qualify there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do against some of the pros in the field.
And that comes up after a short break here. Here comes Wilson, currently was in fourth, jumps up to second overall with a 46.365 by Chris on his last lap.
Only just over a tenth off the fastest time by Shelby Blackstock. Got racer's edge attention there in terms of how close he did get to that fast time of the day so far.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris is just evergreen, isn't he?
He really is, and we talked about him running a GT4 car yesterday. Well, it was a Mercedes, so a similar platform, so maybe that's made that transition a little bit easier, as Kurtz is now very much more up to speed, has found the groove, found the rhythm. See if he can just click a lap together here and move up the grid.
Currently fourth in Pro-Am, sixth overall, through the hog pen, final turn.
Fastest personal best in sector 1 and 2. See if that can move him up the grid.
Needs to better a 147 by a bunch. He does,
Cal.
Cal.
Goes purple in the third sector.
Wow,
nice
great
job.
lap. Jumps to fourth overall, second in Pro-Am.
That's the case of what might have been if he had had a clean session, I feel.
Exactly.
2 personal bests and ultimate best for the third sector.
So I think everybody has taken the checker at this point, so it looks like it'll be the 93 Racer's Edge HPD Acura in the hands of Shelby Blackstock. Nice lap, 146.2 on the overall and silver pole. Chris Wilson in the 33 Windward Racing Mercedes outside of the front row and on the Pro-Am pole, and Fred Pourdad third. What a lap by Fred in the number 20 Wright Motorsports Porsche. Will start inside row 2 on the AM pole, then Kurtz in the 04, Fuentes in the number 1 Ferrari, Barkey in the number 80 Acura, and Askew in the number 63 Mercedes fills out the rest of the Pro-Am field, and John McGrew in the TR3 Porsche will start 8th with Bill Sweedler. And as we said, you take a look at the lineup there, they get a little bit of a break here now, do the driver change, put on the other set of tires, and the Pro will go out and qualify for round 2. And interesting, a lot of discussion, I'm sure, from the drivers getting out of the car to the pros going in about what's the track like, what to be mindful of going out there. After all that rain last night, it really had to green this track up.
Yeah, it's taking away a lot of the rubber. You would have to feel so slightly different feel and dynamic to the car, and you got fresh tires on, cool conditions, so a lot of variables there, and sometimes it's just just good guesswork, and hopefully you got it right, because you can't really do too much during the session. But look how tight the times are. Top 6 separated by just over 0.6 of a second. That sets up nicely for the start of the race here this afternoon.
Boy, doesn't it, obviously. And then ask you, I mean, he was running times that would have been right in that range. I think he's capable of it, just had that damage to the car. We'll see what they're able to do. And John McGrew ending up with a 148.6 in his first qualifying session in a GT3 car in a pro race coming out of Ferrari Challenge. That's pretty impressive in its own right, too. He won the championship, I was going to mention, for McGrew last year in the Trofeo Pirelli AM category, and currently leads in his class in the championship this year as well in Trofeo Pirelli AM. So he's a gun in Ferrari Challenge and made a pretty decent debut here, I think, in his first pro start in GT3 cars. Keep in mind, a Ferrari Challenge car, it's a Ferrari and it's a 488 platform, but it's quite a bit different than the GT3 race car. So that's a big adaptation for him, I think.
Yeah, it's a big step up. I think in Bill Sweedler, who hasn't been doing a lot of racing lately, he's got a great mentor there in terms of telling him, you're doing fine, just slowly, just find a good pace and don't make mistakes. That's what it's all about at this stage of the game. Martin Barkey just getting the window net locked in for his young teammate, 30-year-old Carl Marcelli, certainly one of the top guns in the world of GT racing here in North America.
Absolutely.
Came off that championship last year, the Pro-Am title together. And I think that really whetted Martin's appetite to come back. Talking to him last summer, he said, I'm not sure, I may take a year off, spend a bit more time with family, but when you win a championship, that certainly lit the fire once again. Racer's Edge have been busy, Greg, in the break. They've been running the HPD Driver Academy. We were at Road Atlanta a couple of weeks ago with a quartet of drivers, including Taylor Hagler, Dickinson, Whitmer and Abel, 4 drivers who are part of that program, and they had Ryan Eversley there, Dane Cameron, just showing these young drivers the ropes. So it's a great little program that John Baraki has put together with HPD to get drivers an intro into GT3 racing.
Absolutely, and of course Carl Whitmer, one of the guys there, he was already flying the Acura HPD colors with a big win in the GT Rivals online racing series in Bathurst, no less. So he was already representing, and then they gave him that opportunity to go and run in that academy. And Taylor Hagler, who raced touring cars with us last year, obviously huge opportunity for these guys, and that level of coaching as well. Pretty stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a unique program, and I think it makes a lot of sense just to you know, put them under the gun a little bit, under the microscope, but not in a competitive environment in terms of the racing, and just allows them to walk before they run. Ryan Dial, he's very much been chomping at the bit during this lockdown. Said he's been very busy with coaching. Certainly this team have been getting some laps in at Utah Motorsports campus and here for a couple of days, so he feels he's knocked the rust off and is ready to go. Key is that car damaged at all, as Ryan Marine alluded to with that little knock earlier in the session.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've watched Ryan put up some pretty amazing drives at this facility in the past, including in those Mercedes. So this should be fun. Just kind of taking it easy. That's Trent Hinman. No urgency to get out, it looks like. He's been here before, knows it. Champion driver in these types of cars. Colin Brown now. Let's see what kind of times. As I said, 1:43.6 was the pro pole last year. I don't think we're going to get there because of all the rain, but we'll see. Obviously, that 1:53 is first lap. It'll be getting down and after it. And part of the issue too is when you get an Evo package, it doesn't necessarily always translate into just much faster pace. It's not like you can, you know, suddenly there's major modifications to engines and all that. And sometimes it can be more aero on the car, so a little bit more drag. So at certain tracks, the car will be a lot quicker to drive through the corners, but with long straights, the lap times might not be what you've seen in the past necessarily. It's just because of the uniqueness of the evolution. Let's check in with Ryan Marine.
Yeah, following up on the DXDT story and the damage to the Usalco Mercedes-AMG GT3, the team determined that there is no damage to the splitter, and they've got their dive planes intact, so it's really the fascia that has sustained the damage, and it will hurt them as far as aerodynamics are concerned. It'll hurt them because it adds some drag, but by and large, the critical elements are still there, and there's not a whole lot they could do in terms of repairs on pit lane anyway. So they've determined just to leave it alone, send Ryan back out there, and see what he can do with a bit of a damaged race car.
Well, when you've got a driver the caliber of Ryan Dial, Cal, I mean, that's, you know, he can make that adjustment and he'll extract everything he can out of it.
Yeah, he'll just brush that aside and just focus and see what the car feels like. It's all about just determining the grip and maximizing down this short run. And just making sure you get the tire pressures correct in terms of how much build you're going to get as the fuel burn has an effect too, as the car's a little bit lighter towards the end of the session. Hopefully you get those two lines matching at the same time, and you can get that ultimate lap.
This should be a good one by Colin here. 1:45.2, purple across the board, as you would expect, as he was the first guy to put in a flyer. But that's a pretty good target time here. Let's see what anybody else could possibly do. Dial comes through at a 46.4. Now Marcelli comes through in the number 80 at a 1:46.0 in the Acura NSX. There he is. The MBRP, Performance Exhaust Entry.
3 victories last year. They came up against a bit of a weapon in Dane Cameron, and a couple of teammates started off the year with Brett Curtis, and then Mike Hedlund jumped in, and boy, did he do an amazing job. Remember him leading overall at Road America with a Ferrari breathing down his neck, and got that magnificent home win for real time there. Big
100th.
Weekend, yes.
Well, and he had done the job. Remember, Watkins Glen, too, had led after the pit stops for quite a while. And there's a quicker pro guy in a Ferrari behind him. And when it became inevitable, he did the right thing and let him go. But you knew at that moment, you said, boy, Mike, he likes driving this car. We miss him in this championship, too. He's one of the great characters. Hopefully he'll be able to put something together and rejoin us here as we watch Kyle Marcelli. As you talked about, this guy is quick.
Yeah, that looked really tight. He did. Just missed the apex a little bit there through Oak Tree, so maybe just doesn't have the grip exactly where he wants it. Came in there really flying, hustling the car, and sometimes that can cost you a little bit, because if you're a little bit late to power off of Oak Tree, that will affect you all the way down this Madison Avenue stretch.
About this lap by Russell Ward, the number 33 Windward car, Cal, jumps to third at a 146.1 in front of Dial. Cal Marcelli had turned to 146.0, but it's still Collins 145.2. That tops the charts here.
I was watching Ward yesterday in practice, and he looked like he was really hustling the car and feeling confident. And that time that he's done is quicker than anyone ran in that earlier session, so that's very respectable as Dial leaps to the top with a 144.66.
Let's see where Marcelli responds. A 144.9. As Brown had lowered his 145 to a 144.9 as well. 4 1,000s between Brown and Marcelli right now. 3/10 between Dial and the field, and Baptista starting to find speed.
Yeah, and I really think that Marcelli may have a few more tenths left. I don't think he absolutely nailed Oak Tree on that lap. Just one corner, and that can really cost you here. So Dial is flying. Obviously, that car is not too badly damaged other than a little bit of cosmetic stuff up front. What a ride this is. And this is where that Mercedes is really good. As you can see, it can eat up a little bit of that curbing.
That's the one thing we marveled about with the Mercedes platform, is it can eat curb and it doesn't seem to upset the platform as much as other cars. It just really got a tremendous mechanical grip scenario with that car. Compliance with good stick. It's just really remarkable what they've been able to do.
Colin Brown's on a good one. He's a couple of tenths off of Marcelli in the first sector, but just went best of the day in sector 2, so he may have something to say about this pole position.
All right, at 144.6 is the time Dial had set as he works his way down through the roller coaster. That beautiful blue and black DXDT Usalco Security National Mortgage Machine onto the front straight. Brown, a 144.525, so you called it now. What kind of a lap is Dial putting together here in response?
This doesn't look great.
Nope, a 144.8.
So he's got to regroup a little bit, or maybe the tires have just peaked. Sometimes when you start to ask for more, it's just not there any longer, which is very frustrating, as I believe Marcelli hits pit lane.
He does. That 144.9 apparently going to stick. It's the only thing you can do during the session is adjust tire pressures, if I'm right. Oh, here's why he's in.
Oof.
And here comes Rodrigo Baptista on the replay. It may have affected Baptista's lap just a little bit. This is Bill Sweedler. Currently at a 146.7 in his best lap thus far. See what he does.
It's pretty respectable, though.
Yeah, it is.
He's just been setting personal bests through this lap, so he should, yeah, cuts it down to a 46.3.
For the amount of time it's been since he's been behind the wheel, I think that's a nice job.
I think that he's within a second and a bit of Rodrigo Baptista right now. That's an awesome performance by Bill.
Speaking of awesome, how about Mr. Root? A 144.297 in the Wright Motorsports car, and the number 20 in the hands of the young amateur jumps to the top of the charts.
Oh, I didn't know.
Wow, that is
Sorry, dude.
a great lap. And with the pace we're seeing from Fred Poordad here at VIR, this duo's got a shot here. Oh, but look at Colin Brown. Steals it away here to 144.207 with 6 minutes left on the clock.
We have a shootout.
We sure do.
This is good.
And Hinman now pops up to a 144.6 essentially.
Root went fastest of everyone in sector 1, personal best sector 2. If he can click this together, it's going to be tight for the pole.
Needs to beat a 144.207 as he flashes under the start stand and hits the timing beam. Does he do it? Not quite. Missed it by that much. Great lap, though.
It was, just the last sector wasn't there for him, so I wonder if his tires have peaked a little bit as well in terms of their ultimate grip. Back, but looking at Bill Sweedler.
That was a 144.284 for Root. So 77 1,000ths off pole by Colin Brown.
Talking to a friend in Europe about Max Root just last week, he said watch out for him this weekend. He's been testing, Did some testing with Porsche in the earlier months this year and was very, very quick. So he said the boy has got the talent. He may spring a surprise, and he's certainly done it so far. As Brown now responds.
Great lap. And Sweedler lowers his time to a 146.264. Here comes Hinman. He's at a 144.5. Pole is a 144.2. Let's see what he's going to be able to put together here. Not quite going to get it, I don't think. He does by just a little. 143.941 by Trent Hinman. First driver sub 144 to the provisional pole with 4.5 minutes left. Here comes Colin Brown right behind him.
Well, they're certainly racking up the flyers right now. Fuel load is a little bit lighter. The tires still with these drivers.
Oh, nice lap by Dial. Cal jumps to second at a 144.128.
Just tight, isn't it?
It is. 18 100s between first and second, 79 1,000, second to third, 77 1,000s, third to fourth. Here comes Root.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Just looking at the sectors, don't look like he's got it there. Going to have to regroup here. He's got a few more minutes left, but the key is what starting tire pressure did they have, and have they peaked a little bit, gone too far with the pressures?
Well, he took that lap off, Cal. It was about a 150 he ran. I think he might be setting up for one more little flyer here.
Right now, the 93 car is fastest time in both of these qualifying sessions. Can Hinman hang on here? Team looking to follow up on that double victory at Circuit of the Americas.
Looking to see if the number 80 of Marcelli is back out. It is. He's just heading over into turn 3-4. He should be able to get around and get one more in. So,
oh, Hinman on the power really early there. Just rockets down this hill. There's sector 2, you can see it purple. Personal best in sector 1. This should be a good lap.
143.94 was his previous best. And crosses the stripe at a 143.938. So it took just a little bit. All right, Colin Brown. This is going to be quite there. Let's see what he does. He jumps up a spot to a 144 flat, pushes Dial back a notch.
Wow.
So that's second to first row. That's big.
Could be last man standing. These Pirellis are up to the task. They're just getting quicker and quicker. This is awesome stuff.
This is that new tire that they are debuting. They debuted at Circuit of the Americas, and everybody's got a little bit more of a handle on it. And everybody has said it may not be fast as the other tire right on the off, but the longer you get into a stint, it is relatively quicker as well. So let's see what Baptista can do. He's sitting back 6th overall, 4th in Pro-Am at a 144.98. Let's see what he can do here, if he can move up the order at all. He does.
He tightens it way down there. So we've now got 5 drivers within half a second. Marcelli's back out there. He may be able to get into that mix as well if there's no damage to that Racer's Edge machine.
Yeah, Baptista found a half second. That's a lap.
Well, we talked about the grid not being, oh boy, putting it on the line there. That was awesome. What a drift there through turn 3. Baptista is up on the wheel. He knows how much time his team will have told him what he's got to find, and he's just pushing it to the ragged edge right there.
That was awesome. That's pretty much dancing on the limit through that corner. No question about that.
The boy has immense talent.
Oh, doesn't he? All right. Colin Brown, he can get one more. Let's see what he does on this one. Needs to find a couple of tenths if he wants to go to the overall pole.
Yeah, I think this is more of a cool down lap, but maybe give it one last hurrah here. Bottom of the car, just chipping there.
Yep.
The brake zone, so he's definitely deep on the brakes there down into turn 1.
Here's a look at Marcelli.
Yeah, has he got enough time to get back to the line and get one more? It's going to be tight.
Really tight, I think. So it's Hinman's 143.938, the number 93. That holds time. The team car here in the hands of Marcelli working its way down the hill. And that
it's going to be really tight on the line. Might just get it, Greg. You might get one more lap.
It
could be crucial.
Yeah. Does he do it? Oh,
Yes.
he did. Oh,
Okay.
man.
Put it on the line, Kyle. Show us what you got.
And he just turned his best lap at a 44.901. Still 6th overall, 4th in Pro-Am. There's only a few cars that are still out. Colin Brown, 63 Dial, the team car, and Marcelli. Everybody else has taken the checker, so.
Brown and Dial have set their personal best in Sector 1. Not a good Sector 2 for Brown now. Not sure if he's going to have enough here.
He needs to have a massive Sector 3 then, see what he does. Down through hog panel bobble there.
Wow, he threw it in there.
Oh, and
Yeah,
it's,
he's off.
Yep.
You could see he just really attacked there in the front end, wouldn't give it to him. The road just falls away there, and he just had to get out of it.
You talked about that. You felt that was, when you drove, it was a really tricky corner.
Really
here.
difficult. You're coming through this a little bit off camber. You're looking way down the road, and you're just feeling the edge of the road. But when you overcommit there, you're just hoping and praying that you got the grip there to keep on the racetrack, and he didn't quite have enough left.
All right, Dial comes through. He did not improve, so there's one guy with an opportunity, and it's this one, Kyle Marcelli in the MBRP Performance Exhaust Racer's Edge Acura.
It doesn't
And it
look
looks
good.
like he's taking it pretty easy, doesn't it? And obviously, teams watching the time, the driver's got the predictive on the wheel. It's like if you know you're not in there with that lap, and he just heads toward pit lane as you would expect. So it is Trent Hinman in the number 93 from Racer's Edge. That's the Acura Accelerated Service, and HPD NSX GT3 will start from pole, so they sweep qualifying in that 93 car. That silver duo living up to it. But a great lap by Colin Brown in this one to sit second. His teammate in DXDT, Dial, puts in a lap for third. Max Root, a great lap, putting him on the, so they sweep the AM pole for Wright Motorsports. That's impressive. And Baptista Fuentes. Next up, Barkey and Marcelli. And Baptista Fuentes, obviously, in the Hublot TR3 Ferrari. Barkey and Marcelli in the Racer's Edge MBRP. And then Chris Wilson and Russell Ward in the Windward Racing TechMet Mercedes. And then Bill Sweedler and John McGrew in the TR3 Racing Ferrari. Support from Tommy Cooper and Stanley complete the field. And just to remind everybody, when we go racing this afternoon, there will be a race within a race unfolding as well, as this weekend also sees the introduction of the GT Sports Cup, and those cars will be running with this field as well, so it'll be interesting to see it play out. But take a look at some of the big moments here, and Colin Brown was one of the guys right at the sharp end of things throughout this session. Went to the top early, but huge lap here by Trent Hinman. And when it went in, he didn't stay out much longer after that. Even with a little damage on the car, Dial found some speed.
Yeah, DXT are looking very strong here this weekend. Didn't quite have enough for Trent Hinman, but certainly in the race this afternoon, we had 6 drivers within 6/10 in the first qualifying second, 5 within half a second there as we take another look at Marcelli's little off.
And there was Max Root's lap for pole in AM. Thanks for joining us.